Well, on the local campaign trail, the Greens are on a roll with more councillors in more authorities than ever before. 20 in 10 different authorities, including Will Duckworth of Dudley, who is also their national deputy leader. Their opposition to high-speed rail played strongly in last year's county elections. Our BBC Coventry and Warwickshire political reporter Sian Greszczyk asks if it'll do the same again this time.
So the HS2 route as planned is going to come right through here, just near
Heath Park in Chelmsley Wood, just one of the many battlegrounds along the proposed HS2 line from London to Birmingham. The Greens say their opposition to it is winning them votes, giving them confidence in the run-up to the elections.
Here in Solihull, and we could become even the official opposition, the second largest party on the council, just 2 behind the Liberal Democrats. We could do so much more if we were the second party, but also the Battenhall area of Worcester, Nuneaton, Newcastle-under-Lyme, Dudley. We could be picking up more seats in those places as well.
At the moment, the Greens have 20 councillors across 10 West Midlands councils, the most in Solihull, where they have 7.
The ayes to the right, 452. The noes to the left, 41.
Last week, MPs voted overwhelmingly in favour of the scheme, which is now one step closer. But if our highly unscientific straw poll is anything to go by, support in Chelmsley Wood is thin on the ground.
I don't think we need it. I think it's a white elephant.
It's destroying people's lives. It's the fact I actually think it's a total waste of money.
The Greens are hoping the issue will also play out well in the European elections. Last time out, they came 6th in the West Midlands behind the BNP, a long way off securing an MEP. The party's deputy leader is hoping for better this time round, and opposition to HS2 could help.
Well, it's going to cut great swathes through the landscape of this country, and there is no way we can mitigate against the environmental damage it's doing. Not to mention the cost of about £3,000 and more for each family in the country, just so that a few businessmen can get from Birmingham to London a few minutes quicker than they could before.
The Green Party holds its conference in Birmingham this September. The question is, will the annual get-together see them welcoming a new clutch of councillors and maybe their first West Midlands MEP?
Elizabeth, it strikes me that HS2 is one of those areas where the Green Party is really making great strides in cornering your traditional share of the market. Bearing in mind we've seen in the Sunday Times today a YouGov poll which places the Liberal Democrats behind the Greens in the Euro election poll ratings.
Well, I think they're doing what they've done in other areas and making political capital out of just opposing something. I don't think it's been thought through. I mean, it's obvious.
You're against HS2 yourself, aren't you?
Well,
I mean,
no,
this is an early stage in your career to take issue with your party leadership.
What I have said is that HS2, I think we know that it's necessary, not necessarily just for speed, but for capacity more than anything else. What I'm interested in, especially for Stratford, is local infrastructure for trains. I think it's ridiculous that you can't get directly from Stratford to Birmingham International.
What if you're an
or
MP in a year's time and the hybrid bill is going through Parliament? Are you going to vote against it in defiance of the wishes of your leadership?
Well, I will put the residents of the area that I'm representing first and foremost. What I do think is that those people who are affected...
Sounds like a definite maybe. What about you, Nanette? You're
compensation.
against HS2, the hybrid. If you're elected in a year's time, you'll be faced with whether or not to support this hybrid bill going through Parliament.
I think, like Liz, we've got to say we need rail infrastructure, improvements in the rail infrastructure in the Midlands. It is absolutely ridiculous that you can't get a train from Stratford
Would you
to
support the
Nuneaton,
hybrid
for
bill
example.
or not?
I think it will depend what exactly is in the hybrid bill. We know that we need
the hybrid bill has started its progress through
network.
Parliament. It's not a mystery.
But, well, there's all sorts of petitions going in from local authorities across the Midlands and across the country to try and get changes into that bill, so it depends what it says.
I would remind the parties that all the parties are supposedly for HS2. Is this a complete rumour full of rebels here?
No,
Lucy?
I mean, as a pragmatic politician, a decision has been made. Let's get on with the job. I don't really want to wait till 2026 to see improvements in rail infrastructure. Capacity has always been the issue for us here in the West Midlands. It's not about speed. We can get to Birmingham in an hour.
What's in it for Telford, for your potential constituency?
I want to see increased capacity so that we can have our direct link to Telford. At the moment, we cannot get to London without stopping at Wolverhampton, sometimes for half an hour. That is a major barrier for business, jobs and growth, and Shropshire business people have put their weight behind increased infrastructure so that we can have increased capacity.
We've heard what Ed Balls has to say about HS2. In this very studio, in fact, he revealed himself not to be a particular fan, extremely lukewarm, if not cold, on the subject. Would the first act of his role as a Chancellor in the next government be to strike his pen through the whole thing?
I don't think he'll say now I'm going to cancel the whole project. What he has said, and what I think he's right to say, is that there cannot be a blank cheque for HS2. We have got to make sure it's delivering the economic benefits that were promised. And at the moment, the case hasn't actually been proven that the economic benefits, particularly for Warwick and Leamington, are going to be delivered. Because logically, you're not going to go from Warwick and Leamington north for 20, 25 minutes, half an hour to a railway station to get on a train to go to London. At the moment, you can get to London faster if you just go to the local railway station.
The big thing occurs to me that these trains would presumably be more environmentally friendly than older trains. They get traffic off the road, so you ought to be 100% in favour of them, Elizabeth.
It would, and Liberal Democrats have been 100% in favour of